Hey guys, it's Mrs. Weiser. So this lesson, we have multiple goals that we're going to try and accomplish, but they're all kind of related to one another. So our goals are, I can use a number line to order and compare integers. I can explain statements of inequality by describing the position of two numbers on the number line. And the last goal is I can make comparisons in real-world situations, which is very similar to the first goal, just those integers are going to be actual real-world situations. So before we start to order and compare numbers, I just want to review the number line and understanding how numbers work on the number line. So on a horizontal number line, numbers are shown from left to right in increasing order. And here's a picture of what that means. So as we move from left to right, the numbers are increasing in value. So they're getting larger as we go from left to right. So this can help us when we try to compare two numbers. We can think of them on the number line. The number that is located farther left is always going to be less than the number that is located farther right. So let me show you an example. -7, if I'm going to compare that to +3, -7 is farther left on the number line than +3. So that means -7 is less than 3. Or we could think of it the other way around as well. So a number that is located farther right is always greater than the number that is located farther left. So for example, if I compare 8 to -2, 8 is farther right on the number line than -2. So 8 is greater than -2. So let's go ahead and do an example here. Example 1 says 5 friends played a game where you earn positive and negative points. Their final scores are displayed in the table below. What was the highest score? What was the lowest score? And then finally, write their names in order from lowest score to highest score. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to graph each of these people on the number line, and I'm going to use that to help me answer these questions. So Maggie had a score of -3.5. That would be, Maggie would be right here between -3 and -4. And Drew had a score of +2. That would be right here, would be Drew. Rosemary had a score of -3, so that would be right here. And Rich had a score of -1, so he'd be right here. And Abby had a score of 1.5. That would be right here. All right, so the highest score, well, we know a number line goes in increasing order from left to right. So my number all the way on the right-hand side of the number line would be my highest value, my highest score. So that would be Drew is the one all the way to the farthest to the right. Okay, so Drew has the highest score. Now let's find the lowest score. So again, the number line increases in value as you go from left to right. So the number all the way to the left would be my lowest value or my lowest score. The person all the way to the left is Maggie. So Maggie has the lowest score. Last thing we need to do is write their names in order from lowest score to highest score. And the number line kind of helps us do that because it does put them in order from lowest score to highest score. We just have to write how they appear from left to right because that is going from the lowest value to the highest value. So the order of lowest score to highest score would be Maggie, Rosemary, Rich, Abby, and Drew. So now that we've learned how to order numbers, let's learn how to compare numbers. So you can also use a number line to write statements of inequality. And inequalities, they compare two numbers. An inequality is a number sentence that states whether two numbers are unequal and in what way they're unequal. So there's all kinds of different symbols we use to write inequalities. And these symbols compare one number to another number, and they tell us in what way how are they unequal. So the first symbol is a greater than symbol. It looks like this. And this symbol shows that the number on the left is greater than the number on the right. The next symbol we can use is a less than symbol, and that looks like this. This shows that the number on the left is less than the number on the right. And we won't use these too much in this unit, but we will get to them later. We can have a greater than or equal to symbol, and that looks like this. It's a greater than sign with a line underneath it. This shows that the number on the left is greater than, or it could be equal to the number on the right. And lastly, we could have a less than or equal to symbol. So that looks like a less than symbol with a line underneath it. This shows that the number on the left is less than, or it could be equal to the number on the right. And again, these two symbols we're not going to use a whole lot right now, but we will when we get into algebra. These two are going to be your main two that you're going to use, the greater than symbol or the less than symbol. All right, let's go ahead and try some examples. So example 2, write an inequality statement to compare 3 to -4. So I told you we could use a number line for this, so I'm definitely going to use a number line to write that inequality statement. So the first thing I'm going to do is locate 3 and -4 on the number line. Here would be 3, and here would be -4. If I remember how a number line works, the value of my numbers increase as I go from left to right. So my numbers on the left are smaller than my numbers on my right. So if I compare -4 and 3, I want to show that the number I wrote here on the left, -4, is smaller than my value here that I wrote on the right, 3. So I'm going to want a less than symbol between them. If I wrote 3 first and I was comparing 3 to -4, well, now my number 3 is written on the left-hand side and -4 is written on the right-hand side. So I would want a greater than symbol between them. You could write either of these as an inequality statement, and both of them compare 3 to -4. So let's try example 3. This one has some real-world situations involved, but we're still going to compare. So it says, one morning it was -9 degrees Fahrenheit in Columbus and -7 degrees Fahrenheit in Pittsburgh. Where was it warmer? So the first thing I'm going to do is graph these to see where they're at on a number line. Where's their location? So -9 would be right here, and -7 would be right here. So for it to be warmer, it would be a larger value. And remember, the number line can help us figure this out because the numbers farther to the left are smaller and the numbers farther to the right are larger. So -7 is farther right than -9. So where was it warmer? That would be right here, and that's Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh was warmer. Okay, this is our last example here. It says, describe the position of the numbers in the number line to compare the numbers in the equality -4 is greater than -10. So when we compare these numbers in the inequality, -4 being greater than -10, we have to describe their position on the number line. So I'm going to put them on the number line. That way we know what we're describing here. So I'm going to plot -4, that would be right here. And I'll plot -10, that would be right here. So we are describing their position on the number line to explain why -4 is greater than -10. So I went ahead and wrote out what it is that we need to say, okay? So we need to say that -4 is greater than -10 because, and we're explaining why. And to do that, we're going to talk about how they're positioned on the number line. So we would talk about -4 and where that's located at compared to -10. Well, -4 is located to the right of -10. And that explains why it's greater. Because we talked about, well, if a number is farther right on the number line, that means it's larger than the number farther left on the number line. All right, guys, that is the end of the lesson. So from here, you're going to glue these into your notes.